everybody. Thanks so much for listening to the Dumb Dad Podcast. My name is Kevin, and I'm a dumb dad.
And my name is Evan, and I'm a dumb dad.
Welcome, everybody. We have more than one guest today.
Kevin, we've got a hell of a show this week.
We have the hosts of the new podcast, I Love My Kid, but we have Chris Garcia, Kurt Braunohler, and Megan Gailey. Welcome to the podcast. Welcome to the Dumb Dad Podcast.
Welcome.
Kevin and Evan. Kevin and Evan.
Yes.
Evan and Kevin.
Yep.
It's a bad business strategy.
No, not at all. Because if people don't know, they're just like, Evan. You know, it's actually,
It's
I
true.
think it's actually really smart. I'm thinking of changing my name to Krat.
Mevin.
Yeah, you guys get the...
Nevin,
Devin, and Seven over here. We're gonna. I think if you could just have a logo that's like K/Evan, and then that works for both of you, right? That should be the logo.
So the three of you are stand-ups. You're comedians, and you guys have this new podcast where you are. I Love My Kids, but I'm assuming it's about adoption, getting rid of your kids.
People brought that up.
Finding every excuse.
Actually, I think
every excuse
that
you can.
was definitely pitched on the first episode.
Okay, good. What made you guys want to start this?
Basically,
We just wanted to. Megan, go. Let's let Megan. I want Megan to talk.
No, I was like, I only went because I was like, somebody has to go. Like, it really is. We're all the same. I don't know what our signs are, but all of our styles are like needy, and that's unrelated to the podcast. But yeah, we're all parents. And we all really do love our children so much, but there is crap and hell and terrible things happening constantly to our lives and our homes and our relationships because of making the decision to be parents. And so we thought it'd be really nice to have sort of a treasure box to put all of those complaints that are not directed at our children or more directed at the choices that we made. And so we give zero advice. We pass no judgment, and we just unleash our deepest, darkest insecurities and fears about our own parenting.
Yeah, it's pretty great, you know, because and I'm sure you guys are fully aware, the majority of parenting podcasts out there are like, Mama, you got this. You're doing it right. And ours is just like, hey, we're fucking up constantly.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, most podcasts are like, it's because they love you that they took a knife to your thigh. That's just them telling you they want more time with you.
It's really refreshing. My last podcast was about Raffi, the children's singer, and I got to interview him a bunch, and I talked to a bunch of experts, and the whole time I had a newborn at the time, and Raffi was giving me all this advice. And I love the guy, and he's amazing, but he had no kids of his own. So I'm like, what are you talking about?
Oh, no.
I sleep in 2-hour increments. And so and he was wonderful, and he's probably one of the most delightful people I've ever met who's dedicated his life to children. But I was like, can I please say something mean about being a parent instead of pretending we're living in some magical unicorn bubble of childhood? So it's nice to have this space to be able to vent.
How many kids do each of you have, and how old are they?
I have one son, and he is 14 months old. So I am the newest to the parenting game, and I am also the only one who gave vaginal birth to the child.
But in solidarity, I shoved a cantaloupe up my asshole just to feel it. Okay,
I can hear it in your voice.
Thank you. Today I did it. Yes, I knew Megan would bring this up again.
That's why you have an electric chair and desk.
I have a daughter. She turned 2 in February, so she's almost 2.5. She's full-blown toddler mode right now, and which it just started like in the last week, I feel like. So there's been a lot of changes, and it's been a lot.
Everything in your house from 2 feet and below is broken or has marker on it.
Yeah, or it's a murder weapon. That's everything in the house right now. Yeah.
And I have a 6-year-old and a 3-year-old right now. But Chris, I do remember at 2. No, I guess it was 2.5, or maybe it was 3 when Olive was 3, and Gus had just been born. So Gus was a very little baby, and but he could walk, so it must have been a little bit later. And we found. I'm just like, well, really? So he must have been like 9 months old.
Kurt doesn't actually have any kids. We just think he's so funny.
No, this is. You did not memorize your lines.
And they were driving the car, as kids do. And but we found drawn on the wall like circles with like eyes essentially drawn in. And Olive had just learned how to draw circles. And we're like, Olive, did you draw these circles? She's like, no, but I did see Gus do it. And she just sat there and she lied to us for 2 years because it was on the wall. So we'd walk back and we'd be like, Olive, you didn't do this? She's like, Gus did it. I'm like, Gus he can't even pick a pencil up. He definitely can't make full circles. And she lied about it for 2 full years. It wasn't until she was like 5.5 that she was like, yeah, no, we're like, we know. We're fully aware that you drew them.
Yeah,
I like the idea that like for 2 years, every time you walked by that, you kept the same energy. Who did this? It's been 18 months. We haven't gotten to the bottom of this.
So also the fact that my wife and I both did not clean it off the wall.
Yeah.
We were just
shame her.
Mm-hmm.
The worst detective. You know exactly who did it.
Yeah. You're keeping the murderer in the house until they confess. That's interesting strategy.
I think you did it. Like, I'm the detective.
So how did you three meet? That they got this all going. Did you guys just all meet doing comedy or?
Yeah.
That start?
So Chris and I actually met in Hawaii doing a little show called Adam Devine's House Party. And we got really drunk one night and bonded over Alzheimer's of all things. And then, you know, Kurt, I've known through stand-up, like stand-ups, I feel like you all know each other and have varying levels of love to true hatred, and I had always loved these two, and then and thought they were really good dads too. I saw them become parents before me, and you know, as moms, we're always being judgmental. That's sort of why you become a mom. That's kind of, you know, people are like, oh, did you feel you needed? I was like, no, I just really wanted to judge other people and have a reason. And so I procreated. And
did you have children to fill a hole? No, to make the hole
exactly. And so I do think I could go up to like any one of our female like mutual friends and be like, rank the dads, you know, and it would be like, this one is great. This one is terrible. This one sucks. This one should leave the country. Like we all would kind of, and Chris and Kurt are at the top of the list. Really, like, you know, we're on here to like talk shit, but are also really, really good dads.
That's I mean, it's definitely the bread and butter of what we do here, because no matter what you are as a parent, and no matter how hard you try, you're gonna fuck a bunch of it up. It's just no two ways about it. You know, it's that's the feeling all the time. Like you think you have it dialed in, you don't. Something's gonna go wrong. You've done something wrong.
It's kind of the same with like stand-up comedy. Like it's just so difficult and it's so hard. And like we already bonded through comedy through this like Sisyphusian like journey of trying to make it as stand-ups, and then all like doing a great job and being great professional comedians and knowing how hard that is, and being parents at the same time. That's probably the one thing that's harder in our whole lives is being a parent. So we're like bound by these two things, and we really understand each other and really get each other. And I just admire Kurt and Megan so much as parents and comics. And I feel uncomfortable saying more nice stuff because I could go for hours.
Yeah, we can move on from that. Absolutely.
But it does seem like that is one thing that I don't know if you guys have all felt this way, but that has suffered the most in my life from becoming a parent is stand-up. Is like that I just don't I don't have as much energy and as much time as I used to be able to put towards this thing that I actually really do love as well. And so it will be interesting when like there's a little bit more of a parental balance that happens where like the kids are a little more independent and a life can slowly start to emerge back into the world for like an adult life, you know, as opposed to just being a child life right now. So that's also an interesting thing to look forward to.
I get to every show and I'm like, I need to be here because I am a mother. Like I'm changing lineups. Like I'm not producing the show. I'm not hosting the show. And I'm like, okay, so he has no kids and his girlfriend hates him. He needs to go at the end. I need to go second because I need at least 5 minutes to collect the fact that I'm even out in public. And then I need to go home. Like I did a show last night. I was second to last and a father was last. And I was like, blow up this video store. This is wrong.
Oh, you did the video store?
Oh, I did.
I'm doing the video store next week.
I did the video store. And a man was just sitting cross-armed staring at a VHS copy of Flintstones while I'm talking about my labor. And I was like, you piece of shit.
Did he get it?
No, he didn't even buy it.
It was $2.
No, that's inflation. That's insane. It is funny how staying out late in any respect, whether it's doing comedy or something else, you're always just looking at the clock, but you're always just seeing 5:30 a.m. no matter what time your watch says.
Yeah.
I'm in the state of Washington right now. I flew up to my mom and dad's, and the same thing. We flew in last night, got here to my mom and dad's house at like 11:45 p.m. My kids are 8 and 5, so it was like my son's 8. He was he's teetering on like, I need to go to bed right now. But we just got to Grandma and Grandpa's, and so they're like running around. But the whole time I'm thinking like, I have a show tomorrow morning. They're gonna wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning. I have to set up. That's all I'm thinking. He's like, okay, you go to bed. Yes, we're gonna be here for a while. Go to bed right now, please. Leave the room.
I also would like to point out for everyone who's listening to this that Evan's background, the fact that you're at your parents'. Are your parents professional podcasters? Because
it really looks like
perfectly framed. It's at like I thought when we joined this session that you had like artistically arranged each photograph behind you, and that was like your background for when you podcast, because it is like it's impeccable.
Well, Kurt, it's those are family photos of your family. We put it. We do the research. Those are
the creepiest research.
Yeah. This is Kurt here when he was a boy.
This is when Kurt wrote on the wall.
My dad's a musician, and I'm actually right behind me. This is where my daughter's
dead
so
body.
there's the Olaf pillow right there.
Okay.
This is like my dad's music room. So there's a keyboard in front of me here. These are all like his baseball pictures, and he's got all of his music stuff all around here. So I just would bring like the mobile light setup. And I was like, Dad, I need a mic stand. He has that. I need this and this. I will say this, though. This is the funniest thing. About 45 minutes before we recorded, I'm like, I better go set up and just so the kids won't come in the room. And I'm
That's
like,
not how it works.
In the moment, for when the kids come in the room. In the moment, I was like, okay, I have everything I need except for the little cable that goes from my mic setup to the computer. And I had like a huge panic moment because I was like, that's the one thing I didn't bring. And I started looking at like, what's the nearest Target? They kind of live up not near a lot of stuff. So the nearest Target's like 20 minutes away. So that's already 40 minutes. And even if they have this thing, and my dad, the most ultimate dad move is like, well, I got like a thing of cables. It was just like this basket that had like, because dads never throw that stuff away. And
no,
so
he's got the
like,
wide iPhone chargers. Remember the wide ones?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
He's got a box of those.
He had those. He had everything.
My dad is in a band. He's a very good musician. That was not his profession, but he is in a band. They do make money doing it. He also has a music room. But he likes to do this thing. I mean, and they live in Indianapolis. They play like bars and weddings and, like parking lots.
Yeah.
And he's like, Meg, this business we chose, it is a deuce. Like really thinks that we're at the same Hollywood level.
Yeah.
He's like, when you're trying to book gigs, and I'm like, I have a team of agents that don't care about me, Dad. We are different.
And why didn't you get the Flintstones tape? All right, so let's go, Kevin. Let's get into the dumb dad moments because I think it's just about time. I mean, it's just about time. So can you start us off, Kevin? Please tell us, what is the dumb thing that you did this week?
Yeah. So okay, my dumb dad moment this week is it's like all time, like most of my dumb dad moments. It's trying to do something nice for my children. That's always a bad.
dare
Always
you.
Begins with
bad start.
intention.
I know. I don't like doing it. The therapist says it's a good idea.
Yeah.
But so there was one night where we had told our daughter like early in the morning that night we're gonna have a movie night and we're gonna blow up an air mattress in the living room and we're gonna watch a movie and then we're all gonna hang out there and sleep.
Sweet.
And it's a fun idea. We haven't done it in a long time. We did it a lot during COVID. Which was a long time ago, when we were like the real lockdowns of like couldn't go anywhere and you're just passing the time. So we were like, yeah, let's do that again. That'd be so much fun. I said to myself, we put on a movie and like right away, it was just a bad idea because then they're just like wrestling and jumping and just like jumping on the air mattress, dropping elbows on each other. And I have like a 7-year-old and a 4-year-old. So the 4-year-old son is obsessed with the 7-year-old daughter and will just do anything she does. So they're just jumping around and we're yelling at them as if this movie is important. Like, what do we do?
Yeah.
We're doing that thing parents do that's so annoying where we get like, guys, like really, could we focus? Why? Who cares? This is not a test.
For what?
Like,
A test after.
We're gonna be tested on Shrek too.
yeah. This movie you've seen 18 times.
Yeah.
And then just cut to the movie's been over for a while, 10:30, and the kids are both just jumping off the walls. Nobody's in bed. And my wife and I are still holding. My wife actually called it and went to bed. She left me with the kids. So naturally, my daughter didn't go to bed till, well after 11. She just stayed up and like, instead of me being like, pull the plug, like that's what the dumb dad moment was, just going like, all right, let's just put the mattress away. That was fun for the movie. Let's go back to our own beds. My wife and I left, or my wife went to bed. My son went to bed on his own. That's how you know it's too late when your children put themselves to bed.
Yeah.
Yeah. And my oldest stayed up till 11:30, and I didn't want to stay up till 11:30, but I was just like, I got to make this a fun thing for you. Just like let her stay up. So she eventually passed out from human exhaustion.
It does start with a good intention.
I would love to see it. My children pass out from sheer exhaustion because it's always a fight, and I've never gotten to I don't know when it would happen. It would happen like 4 a.m. I feel like. Then
later than you think.
And then wake up.
Yeah.
At 5:30.
Our son goes to bed at 7. You know, that sweet little like baby zone.
Mm-hmm.
And my husband the other day was like, I wonder how late he would stay up if we didn't put him to sleep. And I'm like, 7:02. Like he is like he points at his crib. Like he's like, I'm tired of you two.
Really?
Like grabs his sleep
wow.
slack, lays his head down on it. I mean, he's a Taurus, and our nanny said that means like he loves his bed, and so he is like, knock on wood, a good sleeper. But he's like, yeah, I'm good. I don't need to like be up with you guys. Now he's still a baby. This is probably going to change, and it's going to be screaming and crying. But it's really
he doesn't know that he has other things he could be doing, like staying up, eating candy, watching movies.
Right. He's like, well, I got my thumb, and now I'm good.
Yeah, good. Simple. It's the simple things. Okay, I got a quick one, but this is another good example of sort of good intentions. My daughter, both of our kids are going into like school next year. They were in preschool. They're going to kindergarten next year. Mm-hmm. And so when they go into like real school, like kindergarten and first grade, you got to have like, 11 vaccinations. Mm-hmm. You got to get poked with everything you got to do. Yep. So you got to have all that stuff taken care of. You got to have the pediatrician fill out the card, the health card, and like all the stuff needs to all be, filed with the school before you can enter into the school year. Now, because they're about, they are going to have their summer sort of. So like this all has to get done by this date, or you can come back in like late August and do it. And it was like, well, we just want to get it done. So she had 2 more vaccinations to get done. And it was like, so like a week ago, I was like, let's get something done in the morning. We'll go somewhere in the morning. And then, we have our appointment. And so we go to the zoo. We get there. They open at 10. We're at the zoo. We're walking around, having a good time. The whole time in my mind, I'm thinking like, okay, so here's the time. We got to get to this. Make sure we go home. And the whole time they're starting to go, we're a little hungry. We're kind of, I was like, yeah, no problem. We're going to go to the front of the zoo. We'll get a little something to eat and then we'll head home. And I'm thinking when we get to the front, I'll see how much time we're going to have. Right. That's kind of where my head is at. Kevin knows. So I'm thinking we'll get there and see like how much time we have. We're already walking to the front, kind of like wrapping it up here. And my wife calls me and she's like, are you headed out of there yet? Because she could see like that we were still there. and the appointment was definitely about 45 minutes from right then. And it's like a half an hour drive home. So I was like, I was going to have the realization when we got to the front of the zoo, oh, we're not eating lunch at all. We're leaving right now. But the dumb dad moment was giving my wife like so much more stress than she needed, going like, why are you still there? I know that she's thinking like, what are you doing, man? you got because it was like the last 2 vaccinations had to happen then because you have to get them. And if you don't get them, then it's like, now we're deep into summer. We don't want to wait. It was like, this is the last day. Get this done. And I'm just kind of like leisurely walking around looking at, trying to look at the empty lion cage with my kids.
This is This is why people are anti-vax.
Not paying quite enough attention.
Really.
That's exactly it. It's inconvenient.
It's really
inconvenient.
It's so inconvenient.
It's like,
because we all wanted.
That's what they don't want to admit. Because honestly, we would love to carry around 5G with us. That sounds amazing. My phone is terrible in my house.
I assume I'm being.
I assume the scheduling.
I'm tracked. I mean, he just said his wife knew he was at the zoo, so it's like, yeah, she's 5G'd him already.
Can we unpack that just a little bit though?
Yeah. Your wife tracked.
I just like that Evan's like, I gave my wife more stress because she can see that I'm already there, which means that she knew you were never going to be on time to begin with because she's already monitoring you.
Yeah. I share sharing is
my
caring.
wife doesn't monitor me at the grocery store.
No. It's tough because
not when she knows what she would if I had to leave the grocery store to be somewhere very important.
But your heart was in the right place. The LA Zoo doesn't open till 10 a.m., which feels like a little late, and then you're trying to have a good time with your kids.
So late.
I think
it's
it should open
rude.
at 6 a.m. Come on, it's mostly kids.
What are these animals doing from 6 to 10?
The animals want the morning is the best time because
around?
then they're having their food, they're getting their booties hosed down. Like that's the good time. 10 a.m. now.
That's the good time.
Now you're in nap time. And so it's like, well, then you can't really even go until noon. And then it's the heat of the day. And the animals are like, I don't want to be out here. This sucks.
It sucks. It's hot.
Yep. It's really tough.
All right. So who wants to go first?
Oh, I'm happy to go. Mine is actually a very dumb move. So my 14-month-old, he started daycare part-time a few weeks ago. And so he's just been sick nonstop. It's been a series of snot, puke. I got pink eye. I thought I gave Chris's entire family pink eye. And then it turned into this like on again, off again cough, just like that dry, nasty, like nothing even coming up. Like I have the cough and it's gross. My husband has the cough. Like no movement is happening. It's terrible.
Yeah. It's like great Uncle Roland growing up who used to smoke all the time. I know what you're talking about. That
just
cough.
Like dry, nasty. And so he was home the other day and the nanny was with him and she sends us a video where you can very clearly hear his lungs whistling. And so his lungs are whistling. She said he sounded like the toy in Toy Story that's like squeaks. Yes, he sounds like the squeaky toy.
Wheezy, yes. Yeah.
So my
like
my husband has asthma. His dad had asthma. I had sports-induced asthma, which my husband says isn't a real thing. And I'm like, okay, well, it was. And so
that was going to be my question. I'd never heard of that before.
I think it means like you're 8 and you're carrying a little extra pounds is actually what I think the diagnosis was. Like, listen, we know you want to be on swim team, but like, is this the bathing suit like situation you want? And I'm like, yeah, I feel great about myself. So I have some history. He has some history. I come home and my son is fully like wheezing. And so my husband FaceTimes my mom. I'm not even around. I'm like off doing something. He FaceTimes my mom because she's a nurse. And my mom is like, oh, if a baby is wheezing, that's really, really bad. And then he calls the pediatrician, again, not involving me. And the pediatrician is like, you need to take him to urgent care. So he comes to me with this information. He's like, your mom said it's bad. The nanny said it's bad. And then
She's so into astrology. Why wouldn't you listen to her?
the pediatrician said it's bad.
Okay.
It's especially bad for Tauruses.
So he's
It's
like,
moon-induced. It's star and moon-induced asthma that this child has.
The pollens are aligned.
We need to go to He says we need to go to urgent care, and I'm like, no, we don't.
Oh no!
I'm like,
what is happening?
Nothing. No, I have real. He sort of has more mom energy, and I tend to have more dad energy. Chris and Kurt have heard this. We had mold growing in our house, and I go, it's fine. We all grew up with mold. Look at us. We all had mold, and look how great we are now. So he's like, we need to go to urgent care right now. Like every single person is saying we need to go. And I'm like, do I have to go too? Like this seems like a one person. Like I'm being so blasé.
Why do I imagine you lying on the floor this whole time?
And so then we all go in the car. I call the first urgent care because he's like, we should call while we're on the way. I'm like, ugh. So I call the first urgent care and they go, we have no more appointments. And I go, how are there appointments? It's urgent care. I didn't know I was going to be sick. The man did not like that line of questioning. He did not like that line of questioning.
Yeah.
And so then we decided not to go there because I had already, upset some office staff. So then we went to
Can't cross the bridge if it's burnt.
We went to a different urgent care. Everyone was so lovely. Negative for COVID, RSV, and SARS. I was like, excuse me, what? And then
They're doing SARS now?
I think it's the flu.
What about bird flu?
I think it's the flu, but it said SARS on there. And then they give him like a little breathing treatment, and then they take him and I in for a chest x-ray. And I have to like hold this little like loincloth thing over him so his so he doesn't get radiation all through his body.
It's weird.
And so they do the chest x-ray. They come back and they're like, he looks it's totally, he doesn't have pneumonia. He just had some like funky thing. And I'm like, okay, well, I was sort of right. But the doctor's like,
I think he swallowed a dog toy, actually.
Do you have mold though?
We do have mold. So they prescribe him an inhaler, which is like kind of intense, and steroids, which he's loving. He's truly going to the combine. And so we get those. So like he did, but the doctor was like, listen, when I was doing the chest x-ray, the most concerning thing was I saw so much poop. So like she was just supposed to be looking like, chest, but she was like, the poop is so backed up that I could see the poop in the chest.
No way.
Whoa.
And I'm like, you don't know how much he poops. Like he poops it like 2 to 4 times a day. He had pooped that, like she was like, he's so constipated. I was like, ma'am, he is not, like he pooped this morning and before we came here. Like that's just how much poop is in him. So I guess the moral of the story is I was right. And
that's what I got.
He's filled with shit.
Yeah. You're not gonna not let go of that one. I can only imagine having to shit so bad you're wheezing.
Evan, I've been there.
That's intense. That's on the extras version of the podcast. Wow.
That's a great story. Thank you.
I'm proud of you for being right, Megan.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, of course. Yes,
really
just
proud
add that one to the list.
So you got that inhaler that goes over the face, right?
No,
little
okay,
mask?
so
Nebulizer?
we did that at the urgent care, and they were like, kids like won't let
Yeah.
you put this on their face, so you can just hold it in front of him. And so I was doing that, and then he kept putting his face in it. Like he was like,
Yeah.
he let us put it on his face for more than half the time, and so I was like, I think he.
Oh, that's
Wow.
amazing.
Yeah, it was crazy. And everyone at the urgent care was really clean. He loved it. Like he truly was like, this is my favorite place I have ever been. They had these magnets. He was like magnets that were for the business, not like children's magnets. He was like trying to pass them out. He was just, like break dancing on the ground. Like I was like, we have to bring him to this urgent care every day. Like this is the spot. Everyone was so nice. I mean, it was like a 3-hour endeavor. And then on the way home, he puked on himself like 5 times. So much so that we had to hose down our driveway. And then we put him in bed, and then I took 2 hits of a joint. Fresh in puke clothes, and was like, I earned this, I deserve this. And then I ate like a trough of cornbread.
Well,
Yay!
Mommy of the year.
Oh my God.
I like how you're a mom, but you're also Al Bundy at the same time. It's really awesome, Megan. I think.
Like I'm from Indiana. Like it's like this is. I thought I was going to be sitting in cul-de-sacs letting other people watch my children. So
I do.
I'm doing my best.
I do like the image of you in puke clothes, joint in one hand, casually hosing off the driveway while taking it.
Yeah. Well, and the hose,
It's like that.
the hose didn't stretch all the way. Of course,
Yeah,
it like was like 2 inches, and so I had to fill up his sandcastle bucket that has like a daisy spout. So I'm like using a daisy spout to like hose up his own. And as for Chris, no, we have a coyote problem, and I was like, I don't want these coyotes to eat his puke, and so that's why we were hosing it down. Or I would have fully left it. I would have been like, we just have a puke driveway, and that's where I'm at.
I like that you care about
your
the
truth.
coyote's health more than your own son's health. I think that's really good.
Well,
Yes, that's
no,
Up
it
the
was
bar
more
to get
just
the
like,
They don't
coyote
want to be
sick. I don't want
it
the
was more like they were gonna see it as like a good thing. Like
Oh,
it was
yeah.
gonna lure them. Like,
Yeah, like-
oh my god, the baby puked. Party.
Yeah, and like the baby tastes good.
Yes,
We're
exactly.
gonna go with the baby now.
They just keep coming back like
Yeah.
pigeons,
oh my God.
thinking you're going to feed them.
Just a disaster.
You're out there in the driveway like it's your Uncle Eddie moment,
Yes.
just like dumping the in a row.
Oh, I was in a moo-moo. I was in a moo-moo with puke on it that I thought was pee, and then when I smelled it, was like, that's puke.
Anyone else?
School ended 1 week early this year. Public school in LA. They just were like, surprise, go fuck yourself. Yeah, they did, because it was supposed to end June 15th, and in the middle of the year they just decided it was going to be June 9th.
The 9th seems better, right? How about just the 9th?
Well, yeah, right. And it was just like, oh well, we have a plan for the rest of but we didn't know until like weeks away. We're like, wait, why is this ending on the 9th? It's not ending when it's supposed to end. And they're like, oh yeah, we had acceleration days, so we decided those counted as real school days.
I'd like
And
some
I was
money
like,
back.
They don't. What are you doing?
Next time we vote.
And they're like, it's free. And so we didn't have anything we didn't have any coverage for a full week for our eldest. And I was, and like Lauren's like, we should probably try and find a camp, for that week. And I was like, it's 1 week. How she's 6 years old. It's gonna be fine. We'll just do it. She can watch some TV. She can play outside. It's gonna be just easy peasy, no problem, Dad. And it was a fucking nightmare. There was no getting anything done. Like not even like cleaning the house,
No.
And I remember one day I was like, "That's it. We're doing it this way." And we were going to Mexico in a couple days for a vacation, and Olive loves Spanish, and so we set her up with Duolingo, and we got her. I put her on my computer on Duolingo, and so she's doing Duolingo, and I'm like, she's learning Spanish. Like she can do this for as long as she wants. And that's not true. A 6-year-old brain cannot handle a screen interaction for as long as she wants, because it was like after like an hour and a half, I went and I was like, she'd just been like cranking through, like just like yes, hola, hola, you know, like buenos dias, como está, y tú bien, y tú, like bam, bam, you know, like hitting them all. And then I come in and I was just like, okay. And I just saw her just like, you know, like, oh, like that, like fucking crazy look kids get after being on a screen for too long. And I was just like, oh no. And I was like, all right, we gotta, and it was just like coming towards a wild animal, you know? She was just like, what? Like grabbed it, you know? And I was like, honey, you've been doing this for so long. And she's like, I'm learning. And I was like, no. And I had to like, and it became, and it was like my computer. So I had to like make sure not to break my computer. Like she was holding onto it, digging her fingers into the screen. And I was like pulling her off of it. And then I was just like, you have screen sickness. And she's like, I have screen sickness. And now that has become a term in our house, screen sickness, which is when you obviously have too many screens. But she was a mess for the rest of the day because I let it get that far, because she had been watching TV before, and then she went on to the iPad, and it was like the rest of the day was destroyed because I was like, this is fascinating. Like I've never seen, like it does seem like an actual sickness. Like I feel like in 10 years they're going to be like children under the ages of 7 cannot handle a screen close to their face or something.
The rest of the day, she's like, Papá, tú eres un papá muy malo. Tú, déjame sola. Déjame la enfermedad de la pantalla. I have screen sickness, papá. She just like perfected that.
We turned her into something different. I don't know what to do.
That's an origin story.
Yeah, so fucked up there.
Screen sickness is a great.
I feel like I fucked
that.
up with screens in general.
Screen sickness. Going to use that for sure.
I feel like such a piece of trash because we got into a habit of because we go out to a local restaurant on Friday nights with Lauren's mom, and that's kind of like the time to see her. You know, it's like, you know, family time, and we introduced the screens to the kids at some point, and now I feel like such a piece of trash with just the kids on the screens, and they're still not even good. Do you know what I mean? Like they're still not even good kids.
It's not even
at the table with
screens.
No, it's not even helping, but we still have them. So it's like monsters on top of monsters, and we're the monsters who gave the monsters the screens.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I mean, I will say one of the best interactions at a restaurant I had with my kids was when my wife and I and our kids, we all went to San Diego, and we just had a full day outside and just did everything, and then went to dinner like way too late, but it happened to work out because it was like, I think we went out at like 7:30 to go eat.
Oof.
But they had been out all day,
Might
no
as well be
screens.
midnight.
So then we gave them screens. I mean, they might as well have been back at our house with a babysitter. They were so quiet. And my wife and I were like, this is super bad parenting, but I'm having a great time.
I'm having an amazing dinner.
They couldn't be quieter because their bodies are shutting
know it's
down.
like
But wow, this is nice to talk.
Yeah.
We
Just the right of sleep, just the right amount of sleep deprivation with
And
a little bit of screen sickness.
Sun
and just
we
we
exhaustion.
went to
Yeah, don't give them water.
we went to eat on Sunday, and they clearly put us in a room where they were just hiding the other children. Like it was like we walked through the restaurant, and then it was
love
like,
that.
oh, we're in this secret room, and then so much so that like 2 women in their like 60s and 80s were sat in there, and immediately were like, no, like they were like, we would rather sit outside, and the outside is right on the street. Like they were like, we would rather risk being hit by a car than be in this room with these children. And Conrad, my son, we were like trying to give him the screen, but then he was just watching all of the other children watch their screens. Like he just kept trying to like get these older kids' attention by being like, look, hello, I'm coughing on you. But then the Dodgers game was on, and all of the parents were watching a screen. So it was like we all have screen sickness.
Yes, we do.
Your son's like, to all the other kids, he's like, you guys ever been to urgent care before? It's pretty rad.
He hadn't been yet.
They got
He
magnets.
hadn't been yet, but he did puke on the way home from the restaurant too.
Back to the moo with the hose with the castle.
I know. He gets motion sick. He gets motion sick. He has an inhaler. He probably has mold poisoning. And I'm like, whatever.
Yeah.
Grow up.
Grow up already.
Grow up.
God, you're such a baby. I mean,
all right, Chris, what do you got for us?
Mine is very shameful. I am gonna preface this with I am not proud of this, but
this is good for us.
I don't know if y'all have experienced this, but ever since I've become a dad, I just have like a shorter wick. Like I lose my temper in a way that I've never lost it before.
Mm-hmm.
I am a lifelong chill person, and all of a sudden, I think it might be because of a sense of like I have to protect my family or protect the child, and it's mostly outward towards like other people, especially traffic, and how people behave on the street. I live in a neighborhood where there's no sidewalks. And people use our street as a shortcut sometimes, and sometimes I'll just go 60 miles an hour while I'm walking my daughter and my dog, and then I'll just like I'll just bow up and be like, whoa, like I'll just like scream at a stranger in front of my house. And so the other day I'm visiting my mom. She lives about 45 minutes south. She lives in the South Bay, and I go with my daughter Sunny. And we have a great time, and we're driving back, and the traffic is terrible, and we're on the 110, the most dangerous freeway in America, and Sunny's she's hungry. We're trying to get home for dinner, and I make the mistake of saying, "Do you want to listen to Bluey?" And usually she associates Bluey with watching Bluey, not listening to the Bluey soundtrack. So I put Bluey on Spotify, and you hear that ding 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 ding. She's like, bye, and she's just like, I want to watch Bluey, and I was like, ugh. She wants to watch it. She doesn't want to listen to it, and so she's like screaming to watch Bluey, and it is chaos in the car. And all of a sudden, I'm probably driving like 65. It's like regular. It's not too trafficy, but a bunch of red tail lights are in front of me. And so I start slowing down cautiously, but the car behind me is not slowing down at all. It does the thing where it just doesn't know that there's a bunch of red. I don't know what they're doing, but this guy
watching Bluey.
They're texting.
Watching
this guy
Bluey.
is driving full speed, and I have to do the thing where I veer off the freeway. Like I veer off to the side so I don't get rear-ended. Yeah, that lane, and then he almost hits the car in front of me.
Oh wow!
Speeding so much, and I'm like, Jesus! Like I'm like starting to like freak out, right? And then I try to get back onto the freeway, and this motherfucker isn't letting me on.
No,
he is not letting me on, and he's got one of those cars. It's one of those new cars. It's called like a Rivian. Rivian. Revenant is the movie.
Rivian.
It's a car. Rivian. And he's just not letting me in. And I lose it to the point where I take my LaCroix. I roll down my window. I got my LaCroix and I chucked it at his fucking car. I got such a pitch that I was like, and it was like not empty. It was like maybe a third full. And I just went, fuck you, buddy. Just chucked it like I was fucking Patrick Mahomes. Just a lateral out the window with a LaCroix. And this poor guy just looks at me and he just pulls and he just gets off at the next exit. He's like, this guy is unwell. This is a falling down moment. Yeah, he just gets off the highway, and then Sunny's like, she's basically been crying this whole time. And I'm like, no, like, it's just a terrible moment to like, they feel this, they absorb this, and I am not this person, but I had got like, it was just that type of chaotic moment that I don't know where this comes from. It's probably from how I was parented way back in the day, but like, I just lost it, and I felt so bad afterwards. I mean, the guy did get off the highway. I did feel, if I was by myself, I'd be like, fuck yeah. Get off the one thing. Nah, locals only. But with Sonny in the car, I felt like
Who else can I get off the road?
Yeah, who's next? Who wants to
Chucking
piece
it
of
at
this?
people.
The 110's my prison yard.
I got a full case of these back here.
But yeah, I just felt terrible, and I felt like a bad dad because I just don't want to. I mean, I don't want to lose it like that in front of her. I don't like. That's what you remember when you're a kid. Those are the things. Those weird moments. When I was a kid, one day, some guy. I was probably like 5 or 6. And it was Thanksgiving, and we were visiting family, and this guy catcalled my sister, and my dad jumped over the short fence, and he just like clocked the guy, and basically was like, "Happy Thanksgiving," and then like just left. And I thought it was the coolest thing in the world. My mom and sister were crying, but like I was like, "Oh no!" And then I immediately thought of that. I'm like, "Oh my god, this is me punching some pervert." Like defending my daughter.
Chris, wasn't your dad also holding your mom's purse?
Yes, my dad holds my mom's purse because he was a complicated guy who's like a complete gentleman that always held my mom's purse, but he would also like knock out strangers. But like, I've gone to
there was no middle ground.
Therapy. There's no middle ground. He was like, "Oh, I'm just like straight up from like."
Oh, great!
Just
your lipstick
the most
fell out.
thoughtful guy to straight like hockey brawler. Yeah, it was just those things are just so deep in there, and I immediately thought of that. I'm like, I can't do this. I just have to take a second and like a deep breath and just not repeat this cycle.
I feel like all that is just because it's all so high stakes with parenting, right? Like the reason why I feel like we go 0 to 10 is because like we joke around about, I love my kid's butt or dumb dad moments and all the moments of the stuff because the kids do annoy us. Of course they do. Like the kids, it's frustrating being a parent. And I feel like that's part of like what gets us from like 0 to 10 so fast is like part of it's the kids, but then part of it's you because you're like, I know I could have handled that better. And that just gets you more mad. Your like lack of like sleep, just like all the little things adding up. Like parenting is nonstop. Even when like, as you were saying earlier, Megan, even when you're at a comedy show, you're thinking about your kids at home. It's like, it's always occupying your brain at all times. It's super stressful, but God, it makes great material.
Yeah, for her to talk about therapy in 20 years. Well, I feel better, but it does. Yeah, you're right. It does. There's something about protecting your kid that just, pulls something out of you. And I just didn't want it to be that extreme. I don't think she saw it and knew what was really going on, but she was, in her car seat. I was like, oh boy. Oh man!
Your kid just might think you hate electric cars. That might just be all it is. The technology's not there yet. The batteries are bad. Whiff.
Diesel till I die.
That's his bumper sticker. And LaCroix dad. That's the two bumper stickers.
I took the wrong message from There Will Be Blood.
Oh my gosh, those are so fantastic. Thank you for bringing those to the table. It always helps us feel a little bit better when we talk about the stupid things that we do, because I'm sure, as you say, Chris, now you feel like, okay, I know that's in me, and now I know maybe to recognize that I'm getting there next time, and so I'll just drink the whole can so it won't leave a dent in the car.
Then it just whiffs back and hits the car behind you.
It just floats away. Oh, that's fantastic. Well, you guys, thank you so much for joining us on our show.
Yeah, tell us where you can find the podcast.
You can find it at this little place called wherever you listen to you get your podcasts. But Apple Podcasts. You can get it ad-free on Wondery a week early if you're a subscriber.
Yeah, it's called I
That's
Love
awesome.
My Kid.
I love my kid.
Now, do you guys each have your own handles where we can find some of your stand-up too? Can you shout that out as well?
My Instagram is at Better Megan Gailey, and I've got clips up there. I've got upcoming show dates. I'll be in the Midwest a bunch this fall, going to Chicago, Cincinnati, Columbus, and Indianapolis. So I'm also everything I'm talking about in my set is basically parenting related.
Great.
And very inspired by what's happening in this part of my life. So if you like hearing about that while getting drunk, could be a fun night out.
I do.
If you just Google Kurt comedy, I come
All right.
up. I'm Kurt Braunohler, not Kurt Metzger.
Gotcha. What about you, Chris?
I'm on Instagram at Chris Garcia Comedy. And then, I have clips on there and a bunch of tour dates. I'm going up to Northern California and Portland very soon. So, check me out there.
Well, everybody, thank you so much. You guys can follow us at Dumb Dad Pod on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. You guys could go to our YouTube channel at The Dumb Dads where you can watch full episodes of this podcast. Same. Our podcast can be found where all podcasts are. Please review them on Apple Podcasts. It really helps us out. Thanks as always to At Purdue on SoundCloud for the music and to my wife Annie for editing this podcast.
Well, thanks, guys.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much.
We'll talk to you soon.
Welcome to the world, little one. Welcome to life.
How do I stop this?